So welcome back, Aarti.
Hi, Annette. How are you?
Good. So this is Dr. Aarti Patel. She's a naturopathic doctor. We did a video about a year ago, or a little more than a year ago, all about her book, Acne, just another four-letter word. And in that discussion, homeopathy came up as something that she's found really helpful for herself, first of all, back when she had acne many years ago, and now for her clients. So we actually asked you whether that was something that was interesting, and four people wrote in the comments that they wanted to hear more. And if four people wrote in the comments, it's really a lot more people that are interested, because people can be really shy about writing in the YouTube comments, especially about these subjects. So thank you so much for coming back.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Would you like to start with an introduction to homeopathy, or how you first encountered it and started using it?
Sure. So like we talked about last time in the last interview too, I was struggling with acne for so many years, and I had initially been on pharmaceutical drugs for it and medicated skincare. And, in the short term, that did make my skin almost flawless. But in the long term, when I couldn't afford that stuff anymore and it wasn't working as well, I ended up going off the meds and my skin was just horrendous. It really was wreaking havoc on my life. So at that time, I decided to go to naturopathic school, medical school, and they asked us to go to the clinic and have just, one session or one visit with a naturopath. I went ahead and did that, and I was prescribed homeopathy. And for the first time in like a year and a half being off the meds, my skin was clear, and it felt like it happened overnight. So I was immediately hooked, and I thought, I have to find out more about this fascinating medicine. And lucky for me, I'm going to be learning about it and learning how to prescribe it during medical school. So that's
Right.
how it first came into my life.
I read your recent article in Homeopathy Today.
Hmm.
What was the title again?
Reclaiming your skin from acne using a mind body medicine approach, something
Okay.
like that. Yeah, and I wrote that specifically. It's a homeopathy journal, so I wrote it about homeopathy, but of course, acne was the symptom in my life and in a lot of my patients' lives too, where homeopathy came in particularly helpful. For those who don't know, homeopathy is a mind, body, and energetic based medicine where you have a pretty thorough intake and interview with the homeopathic practitioner, and then they go ahead and prescribe a unique remedy specifically for your health profile. Now, the idea behind it is that you could have two different people with acne, or for example, two different people who are skin picking, but just because it's acne in both of those cases or skin picking in both of those cases, they are not experiencing the exact same thing. So acne would be totally different for one person as it is for another, and you have to address that difference. So the medicine, the remedy itself, but also the intake addresses that difference on a mind-body level. The medicine are these little pellets, and they dilute the medicine until there's just a trace left on the sugar pills. And so that's basically the premise of homeopathy. It's wonderful because you get to talk out your symptoms and how they came about, like the story of your health. But it's also wonderful because it's super affordable at the end of the day as a form of medicine. You know what? Let me go get a little homeopathic vial. That might help because you
Yeah.
get to see the medicine. So
What?
I'll be right back.
I have one somewhere. Wait,
Oh, you
I
do?
have one.
Oh,
Or do you want to? Okay, so
it looks
yeah.
exactly the same as that.
So I remember in the article you saying that there's always, for like all your patients, there's always a mental component to any physical illness, and the acne is no exception. And I also found it interesting. I don't know why I never came across statistics before, but
Uh-huh.
like the statistic that 10% of people worldwide are experiencing acne.
It's really, really, really common. I saw that in my practice too. You would think, I know a lot of people still think that acne is a teenage phenomenon. But if you're working with patients or clients like I do and you do, you obviously see that there are ages beyond the teen years where people are really struggling with acne and with skin picking, and that's the 20s, 30s, 40s, and I've even seen, women and men in their 50s struggling with this, or close to 60. It's not what people once thought acne was, and I think at this point, dermatologists and the skincare industry and anyone in healthcare is adjusting to this new idea that adult acne is actually quite common, and teenage acne can be a lot more stubborn than just passing after puberty or once the hormones regain balance. So yeah, we're finding that this is a lot more common than we once thought it was.
So in the article, and I don't think this is just because it was in a homeopathy journal, but you mentioned that homeopathy is like the number one thing, or the first thing that you do to help people with acne.
It is, and the reason for that is because I think it immediately gets a patient tuned in to the mind-body connection that I want to highlight for their health. If I were to prescribe just a bunch of immune supplements or hormone balancing or adrenal balancing, that I don't think that patients would start thinking more about how their thoughts and emotions may be connecting with their acne and vice versa. And with the homeopathic intake and the remedy itself, I go about explaining to the patient that yes, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, it really does go hand in hand with how your symptoms are expressing themselves. Like, look at the symptoms. They're looking kind of angry, and they're being really persistent and kind of, bothering you quite a bit. And it's not just something that you put some cream on or wash and you feel like, okay, great, this is going to go away tomorrow. This is something that haunts people. And so I think for that reason, that mind-body connection is really important to explore, and homeopathy lets me do that with patients from the get-go. And I also tell people, you have to be patient, because if you've had acne for years or even a few months, you can't expect it to just disappear overnight. And I think I can incorporate, again, like, let's be patient mentality with homeopathy, whereas you can't do that as much when you just spring to supplements. With homeopathy, you can say, well, your mind and body are actually connected, so be patient, let this be a process. And, you talking out your thoughts and emotions to yourself or to me a little bit really, gets the ball rolling for your mind and body to connect together to work on healing the acne, improving your skin, getting you the clarity that you want in your complexion.
Yeah, in the article, what was really interesting to me was that during the intake, you're getting a picture of this person and kind of their personality and how they present themselves, and then it's really based on that a lot that you decide on an individual remedy. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. It is. I was in medical school. You would not believe how many details about homeopathy they would try and get us to memorize in medical school. And with all the other courses going on, both science-based and natural medicine-based, I just couldn't keep it all organized in my head. So I came up with my own method for practice, like a snapshot method, as I call it in the article. And what it is I want to be able to have a clear picture in my head, like a clear picture of who I'm talking with, what their biggest challenges are, what they're most excited about in life, what makes them most happy, their pet peeves. Now, this is already a component of homeopathy, I'd say, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how the intake works. But that is a big component already about homeopathy, is that practitioners will try and get a full, well-rounded picture of you as a patient, and it's not just your symptom only. But for me, I ended up drawing as a means of getting these details organized in my head, and I ended up coming up with this guide. It's like a picture-based guide to homeopathic remedies. It's called Picture It Homeopathy. It's quite a large book. It's like 8.5 by 11. But the reason it's so large is I ended up drawing out each homeopathic remedy in cartoon form. And I still use this, and well, this is the main text I use in my practice to try and get that snapshot in my head of the homeopathic remedy for each type of symptom. Now, this book has 33 common remedies, or 32 actually common remedies that you would take constitutionally, which means mind body linked together. And it's not like acute, but the more chronic form of illness that you can treat with homeopathy. And I have each remedy that you would prescribe drawn out in cartoon form. I tried to make it funny because, you know, at the end of the day in med school, I wanted to be entertained. And because I think homeopathy is such a, you know, kind of animated medicine as it is, you're looking at people's personalities, not just their pimple, but you're saying, hey, who is this person who is having acne? Let me look at who they are and treat that specific, unique person. And so this cartoon form is how I organize all the remedies in my head. And that snapshot is also what I'm looking for when I do an interview with somebody. I'm sitting there with someone thinking, what is the picture of this patient, and what are they going through? What are their struggles? And how does that, the challenges they go through in life, connect with their acne? That's very important for me to look at. And I've only seen patients who pick their skin due to acne, but same with skin picking. And I'm looking at the person, how is this person's skin picking different than somebody else's? And how can I incorporate that into not just the homeopathic remedy I choose for them, but also the health plan in general, the treatment that I'm going to be giving them.
So that book is available on Amazon and stuff? Or great, yeah.
We'll link available to that on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Okay. But Amazon is like
we'll put the Amazon link below the video. Detail. So, is there anything that you can? It seems very, very individualistic, but there's kind of a, you know, it's not a universal skin picking personality, but there are common traits of people who are picking. You know, and so is it something that like you could suggest some remedy that people might try just from listening to this video, or not really?
I definitely can. Now, first off, I wouldn't be prescribing for acne or skin picking on an acute level, because acute, it means to say that a symptom is coming quickly into your life and then leaving just as quickly too, and you're just using the homeopathy to get that flowing.
That's not usually the case.
Right, exactly. It's more of a chronic issue. And so any of these remedies, they can be prescribed acutely, but you would want to be prescribing them on a more chronic constitutional level, as they call it. And the one I'd be thinking about, or first off, I'd be veering toward the anxiety type remedies, the ones that tend to have anxiety as part of their overall picture. And the one that springs to mind is silica. So I'm going to flip to silica in my book. And sometimes I actually get this book out and patients will look at it with me. And they're kind of astounded because they'll look at the remedy picture, the person that's portrayed here, and they'll think, oh my gosh, that's like me. Silica, I'll just show you the page. You can't really see it, like everything that it says. But silica is a remedy that is very, experiences anxiety around being tested or having to perform in some way. So if you think about it, for certain people, everything in life can start feeling like some kind of a test you're taking, or you feel like you're dreading what you have to do because you're going to be maybe evaluated for it, like at work or at school. You're going to be taking tests or quizzes and you want to do well. Or maybe as a mom, you want to be the best mom you can be, but it's tending toward perfectionist traits. So any of these things shows a deeper level of anxiety, which could obviously lead to skin picking as like an outlet for the stress to get that relief. Silica is a remedy I would think about for acne and skin picking if that's also involved. And, this person, like, as I talk about in the book, they tend to dwell on small details to kind of compensate for lower self-confidence. They have a strong tendency toward perfectionism. They may feel sometimes kind of paralyzed by indecision, feeling indecisive and insecure. And they think, how can I feel better? But at the same time, they're choosing this, they're choosing that, they're choosing this, and they feel kind of stuck in their minds because they don't know what is the right choice. They want to know what's the right choice. So it may look like they don't know what ice cream flavor they want, but at the end of the day, maybe they're too hung up on choosing the right thing rather than what they want. Another mental trait here is these people can be very stubborn. So despite yielding on the outside to what others want and just, kind of people pleasing and going along with other people's preferences, inside they don't forget, I know exactly what I want, and they're very stubborn and what do you call it? They're stubborn about it, but it's in their head. They won't share that overtly because they don't want people to think that they're, overstepping and being too assertive. So there's a little bit of a lack of assertiveness here that they haven't quite practiced. Now, this is a remedy I prescribe a lot for acne. It's actually, acne is one of the symptoms that is a big one for this remedy. And I'd say the same would go for skin picking because of that underlying anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounded, I mean, a lot of those traits, the perfectionistic, trouble making decisions, like that's all, and just general anxiety. Yeah, that fits.
Yeah, and this isn't all just picking apart somebody, because I talk in here too about how this person can have easygoing natures and a calm exterior and can feel like someone you want to hang out with and is, chill on the outside. That's a good trait too. But then when that becomes too strong in favor of hiding your real preferences inside, that's where it starts to get out of balance. And you don't want to always be easygoing or chill. You want to sometimes say, no, I'm feeling assertive in this moment. This is what I want. And I'm going to say it, even if I feel kind of scared about that or insecure about it. So that's the whole personality then for silica, where I would think it'd be useful for skin picking just as much as acne.
Do they just take as suggested on the bottle?
Yeah, that the suggested on the bottle is a great way to take it. I, for most complaints, would take the 30C. If you go to the doctor, they will ask you, do you have a sore throat? Yes, no. Do you have watery eyes? Yes, no. Sneezing? Yes, no. But when you have a homeopathic intake, there are not yes, no questions. There are open-ended questions that I do with patients. You let people just talk, and they don't feel judged out of it because you're asking open-ended questions for almost everything. You allow them to talk. You're not steering their conversation. They get to really tell you the full story of their symptoms, and they feel kind of freed up from that. I mean, the consultation is super helpful, but what's also really cool is you can get these at any natural health store near you, and also online as well through reputable vitamin and supplement companies that are online.
And they all cost less than $10, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So even if you thought, well, I don't have like $50 to $150 to go see someone, hey, let me pop by Pharmaca, Whole Foods, online VitaCost, or even Amazon. And I did a little bit of research. I think this remedy at 30C would be helpful for me. Okay, let me just buy it and try it out. I mean, what's wonderful is a little bit of the self-prescribing that people can do for their own health. And people do that. Not everybody will go see a practitioner. And even if you're at home looking up these symptoms and checking it out, you're doing that exploration too.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely link the Amazon product of, what was it called?
It's called Silica.
Silica, right? 30C. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's like a helpful one. I mean, that's a common one for skin in general.
Okay. So do you, like, with the sort of individual way that you work with people, does that work? Like, do you also work by video or do you just see patients in person? Okay.
I do both. I will talk on the phone if that works better for
Hmm.
somebody. Some people don't really care if you have that face to face. They just want to, talk. I'll do
Hmm.
phone, I'll do Skype, I'll do in person, just anything that I used to do home visits. I used to go to people's houses, which was
Oh,
pretty fun too.
yeah.
So yeah, I've done just about every possible way you could see a patient, and
Okay. So
I like
we'll
all of.
link your website as well if anybody's interested in that.
Yeah, my
Or,
website's actually under construction,
okay.
so
We'll just include for now your Instagram and Twitter below ways to contact you while
right, well,
your
my
website
website's
is,
under construction.
yeah, while your website's under construction. And then just let me know, when we can put that back in there.
That sounds good.
Yeah, please, ask questions. I know last time Archie was really good about popping in and answering some questions in on the YouTube. I'm just saying this like all weird. So is that good again? Will you pop
Oh
in
yeah.
for a week or
Yeah,
two
I could
and just,
totally do that. I'll
yeah.
come in, answer questions. I know not everybody is familiar with homeopathy, and
Mhm.
so ask away, and I'll answer whatever I can.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm glad
Yeah.
we got to do this, and
Yeah, me too.